Hey guys, welcome to the first Film Club tutorial. Today I'll be teaching you the basics of After Effects. We're going to be practicing an action scene with these. You're welcome to shoot your own video and follow along with my tutorial. You can use props or just use your fingers. We actually had a video about that too. But if you don't have access to a camera or you just don't want to shoot your own, download links for the clips I'll be using will be in the description. So before you go off shooting your own action scene, remember if you're using an airsoft gun or a BB gun or the like, that your safety is on and that there's no ammo in the clip. Accidents do happen. You should really avoid shooting in public, but if you absolutely must, remember that you are legally obliged to tell everyone around you what you're doing, that these are not real guns and that they're props. You also need to have an orange safety tip. Because I'm in the comfort of my own private property, I won't be using one. But if you're in public, you definitely do need to have a tip. Under no circumstances should you ever be shooting with a real gun. A lot of accidents can happen. You can get in a lot of trouble for having a gun out in public. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is open After Effects. I know it might look pretty intimidating the first time you open it up, but I'll point out everything for you. Create a new composition. Composition is kind of like the video that you're working on. You can put other videos inside it as well as add effects and stuff like that. So we're going to create a new composition. Here's the settings. We'll keep our settings at 1080p because that's the resolution of the video that I recorded in. Make sure your pixel aspect ratio is set to square pixels and your frame rate is 23.976 or 24. That's the cinematic frame rate. If your computer isn't exactly strong, you might want to set your height to 720 because the bigger your resolution is, the harder it'll be for your computer to interpret it. Now we're just going to hit OK. Import the files that we need. So I already have them in my project files here. This is where all the files that you import go. If you don't have the ones you need, you just go to File, Import, Files again, and choose whatever video files you need. I've already got the video I need here, so what I'm going to do is click on it and drag it down to this timeline here. There we go. And now the video is in the timeline. You can see this is the timeline indicator. It'll show which frame of the video you're at. If you drag it around, you can see exactly what time you're at. You'll notice that the little segments here, they're denoted by frames. If you need to get a larger view, you can see that I'm pretty zoomed in here. So we can click on this little slider here to zoom in and out as we see fit. Alright. What I need to do right now is cut my video because I've got a lot more that I need to be editing. So I want to start right. That was the first take. Let's see. I have my second take right here. Right. This is where I want the video to start, so I'm going to click and drag it until it's at the 0. So now if I come to 0, I can see the video starts right where I dragged it. Bam. I want the videos to end a little bit earlier than that. Let's see. Right about there. I'm going to click and drag this end. Clip is going to end right there, where I want it to be. You're not going to want all this black space behind it. So what we're going to do is see the exact time that the clip ends. We're going to right click our composition, composition settings, and change the time to the time that we see. So 1:12. There we are. You can preview your video by pressing spacebar, but it may say up here that your video is not being played back in real time. This is because your computer may not be able to interpret everything up to speed.
So in order to be able to render that beforehand so that your computer plays it back in real time, you just hit 0 on your numpad and it'll render and play it back in real time. Note that when it renders, it might take a little bit of time to load, but it's definitely worth it if you're trying to see exactly what the video is going to look like as an end product. Alright, so next we're going to touch up our video a little bit. It looks a little dark here. So we're going to come over to our effects window right here, and you can see you've got folders of effects. These are plugins that I've installed. Any plugins will show up here, as well as some of the few that After Effects has on its own. So we're going to touch up the brightness here. We're going to come down to color correction, brightness. Additionally, you can type it in here if you don't feel like searching for it. Alright, we're going to click and drag that on top of our video. Now our video effects are going to appear on the side here. So let's see. I'm going to drag up my brightness, increase my contrast so my shadows aren't too faded, and that's good enough. I don't want to spend too much time on color correction. So now our video is slightly brighter, and the next thing we're going to do is bring in our gun flare. You know, that flashy thing that shows up when you shoot a gun. So what we're going to do, if you buy the Action Essentials pack, which includes a lot of special effects like explosions, guns, flares, smoke, etc., you can find that online. It's around 50 gigabytes large though, so I'm not going to make you go and download that. Instead, we'll just drag one from Google Images. We've already found one beforehand. Let's see if I can pull it up here. It looks exactly like this. It has a black background. Don't worry about the background. I'll show you how to take that out right away. So, let's see there. And import your muzzle flash that you want. Drag it down to your timeline. Make sure it's above the clip that you want. If you drag it below that position in the timeline, then the item above it will appear on top. So we want this to appear on top. We're going to drag it on top. There we go. Make sure you click and drag it to the size that you want. And let's get rid of that black background. Now I'm going to teach you about modes. The mode is something like what parts of the picture that the program takes and makes it appear. For this one, we're going to use the lighten mode, and what it's going to do is only choose the light parts of the picture and make it show up. So we're going to click and drag that into the position we want, rotate it a little bit, and that's about the size I want. There. Now we need to make sure it shows up for only the part that the gun is being shot. So we're going to just click and drag again to edit how much of the video shows up at what time. There we go. Timeline basics. Alright, so that's your basic muzzle flash. Nothing special, looks okay. Next, I'm going to be teaching you about masks. The way we're going to eliminate our background, or actually my figure, from the gun flash is through masks. We're just going to copy and paste this layer, so we're going to click on it, copy, paste. And now we're going to choose another mode, add, that's going to make the picture look really bright. This is what we want so that when we're going to show our figure being illuminated. Now it looks really weird here. We want it to only show the parts of the body that we want to light up. So we're going to do that with a mask. Click on your pen tool up here, and now you're going to draw around the object that you want to be lit up. Let's see. You'll see what I mean in a couple minutes. A couple seconds actually. Alright. We're going to complete our shape by clicking on the first point that we started our drawing. And that's what a mask does. It chooses only that part of the video that you clicked on. Now that part is lit up. We're gonna cut our video so that it's only lit up in the shot that the flare shows up. So I'm not entirely sure how to click on the tool and make it cut exactly where we want it to, but I know the keyboard shortcut for it, you're going to press Alt and left bracket, and it's going to cut your video right here. You're going to come to the other side, Alt right bracket, and bam. It only shows up for the frame that you want it to. Now, we've got it lit up, but it looks pretty bright and hard. So we want to soften those edges. We're gonna come down, we're gonna click on this little triangle right here. It's gonna drop down and show us the bare bones of that video. We're gonna come down to the mask that we created. Click again, and if you see the feather is how hard the edges appear. If you drag that slider up, the edges get softer. Let's soften it that much. And let's make a couple more masks. One for my face. You don't have to be super accurate with your mask. It only appears for one frame, so it really doesn't make that huge difference. And we'll soften those edges too. So we'll come down to the other two masks we made. Soften, soften. And of course we can edit exactly how bright they are by decreasing the opacity. Opacity is the same thing as transparency. So that looks about right. And for the top one, with that a little less bright. There we go. So let's see how that looks. Bam. Just a temporary illumination. Alright, I'm gonna hit spacebar and preview that again. The last thing I'm gonna edit into here is some smoke, gun smoke. You can probably pull one off of Google or YouTube or something, but I'm just gonna take one from my Essentials pack for the sake of convenience. I've already imported it into my project, so I'm just going to pull it in here, and you're going to see it just looks like a whiff of smoke. We're going to drag that to where we want that to appear. And so it's going to look kind of funny because the smoke is coming like out of nowhere. And you'll notice that if you click and drag it, it's going to stay in that position the entire time. We're going to change that. We're going to make the smoke follow the gun. So what we're going to do is click on the starting position. And now if you hit the layer that you want and press P, position shows up. Now we want to toggle it so that the position stays in the position we want it to. So we'll click on the stopwatch here. And what that does, it lets us drag it to different positions, and it's going to stay in the position we drag it to based on the frame that we chose. You'll see the these little yellow things here, they're called keyframes. They correspond to the changes we made. So you see if I delete this keyframe, it stays in the position I want. So we'll keep that first frame, drag a couple frames, drag the smoke to where we think it should be, go forward, drag again. Drag again. And now the smoke is following the gun. Now let's pick that up right here. Alright, this time we're gonna do our RAM render by clicking 0 here. There we go. Alright, So we've got our gun flare, our gun smoke, our illumination, our color correction, and the last thing we're going to do is put in a sound effect. Again, you can find one off of YouTube or Google pretty easily. I've already got the one I want imported, so we're going to click and drag that down to the position we want. If you drag it down here, you'll notice there's another indicator right above where you're dragging it. So we're going to drag it to about the place where the gunshot starts. And hit our RAM render preview again. That's a little bit late. We'll drag it before. That's about right. And there you have it. Now the last thing we need to do is just render the video so that it appears as a video file and not an After Effects file. If you try saving it, After Effects file. So we're going to render it. Click on your composition window and hit Control M. Excuse me. And you'll see that your composition appears in the render queue. We'll keep our render settings at best settings, and make sure your output module is H.264. This way the file outputs as a .mp4 file, and the size is going to be relatively decent. The file size won't be too big, so it's easier to upload, but at the same time, the quality is still pretty good. We're gonna hit render. Now remember, depending on how powerful your computer is, the render times will be shorter or longer. If you've got a lot of video files, a really long video, a lot of effects, the render time will be increased. But we've got a fairly short video, so this shouldn't take too long. We'll hit render. And it's done. So let's take a look at our final product.